Here's a new service my agency is launching, and it is a synthesis of your back end catalog. It solves the problem of having a lot of content that you've already produced that you now want to monetize or find additional channels to reach highly qualified prospects. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. I'm going to give you today an example of a service that we're offering as white label. So if you're a marketing agency and you want us to do this for your clients, we can do this and you get all the credit. But it solves the problem of having a huge backlog of content. So in the last 23 years, I've written thousands of articles, special reports. I've done video podcasts, I've done audio podcasts. I have a library of materials that is essentially sitting on a hard drive somewhere, expert content and materials. And sitting on the hard drive, that content has zero value to the business. And let me explain why. You can write all the content you want. It could be the very best copywriting you've ever written. It can be prose and basically, if it's a manuscript on your hard drive and not in front of highly qualified prospects, then again, it has no value. So, what we do is we go to a client who is a consultant, who is an expert in their area. Maybe they've written a number of books, maybe they have an expert service in the marketplace, and we mine all of their historic material, unpublished manuscripts, old podcasts, everything we can find, we contextualize it. What does that mean? Well, we contextualize it by expanding the content and placing it somewhere in their content hubs or their root keywords or their other search engine optimization so that it is additive value to how they want to target today in the marketplace. See, they could have published that podcast years ago. It's evergreen content, has high value, but it's not in their ecosystem where a qualified prospect can see it, and therefore they aren't getting any value from it. Think about this. Not only is your prospect not getting value from it, but now they're going to ask you questions that you'll have to answer again, and you already did a great video on it, but nobody knows how to find the video. So let's basically create something again, and now you're spinning on this content wheel. Now I know a lot of copywriters and marketers who write content want their clients on the copywriting wheel where they're constantly creating new content, but this is why this is such a value added service. Now, we do a consultation with the client, kind of a discovery call, and we determine the scope for your particular library of content because every customer is different. But let's say you've got, in my case, 500 podcasts. Some of those podcasts are still getting traffic today because it's evergreen content. There's another section of that content that could get traffic today if it was properly linked to, if it was published on a new social media platform. So, for example, when some of this stuff was created, MySpace was the thing. Now there's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. If we repurpose that content, we can put out the new wine in old or the new wine in old bottles or old wine in new bottles and basically drive prospects to the content. Now, again, as I talk about in my content marketing system, content itself has zero value unless it is engaging a behavioral change in the prospect. So some of this old content will be garbage, but we can pull out a little excerpt here and there. And we can take that excerpt and point to a landing page with a current campaign, point to a landing page for your newsletter opt in. We might, for example, find a great piece of content that's never been published online, and we may take an excerpt from it, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and publish it on YouTube, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and see all these different platforms. Previously, it was nowhere, and now it's in a lot of different places. But again, the behavioral change is a call to action in the text, like either an overlay or in the description that drives people back to your website, properly encode it. So we want to properly code that link so that we're either tracking or pixeling the individuals who click the link, or we are having some kind of conversion event. So we get them in the front of a pipeline. Now, again, or a funnel. Now, again, some of this stuff sounds complex. Most subject matter experts just want to create content because it doesn't take much effort to create new content. And so, yes, you can sell them on creating new content. But what if we could take the library of their historical materials, match that with keyword research, match that with analytics from their website, and now write better scripts for new content. So instead of them having to just off the cuff, throw some more spaghetti against the wall, we're now using the analytics of their historical content library to figure out what topics are important, what topics align to their current needs in the business, and then ultimately create the right scripts so that when they do a video sales letter or they do a podcast or they do an interview, we now put them in the right place. Here's another benefit. So one of the things that we're doing is we're going in and we're interviewing. So we interview the body of knowledge. This doesn't require any interaction with the subject matter expert. When we interview the body of knowledge and we start to find themes. Now I'm using machine learning to do this, so I'm not going to explain all the concept and details, but I'm basically looking for hub and spoke concepts. So we make code and put metadata in your content library. And then I'm looking for hub and spoke concepts, which just happens to be what search engines are looking for, but it's also how humans organize information. So by looking for these hub and spoke concepts, we might find out that there's a one topic that is very well covered in your content. And so rather than you creating new content for that, we could repackage the old content, put it in a special report, put it in an offer. And so here's an example. Let's say you have 3 podcasts that are kind of the beginning, middle, and end of a topic. We have those 3 podcasts transcribed. We have the 3 podcasts edited together. So let's say they're video podcasts. We have those edited together, and that becomes maybe a 90-minute video. And then we have the transcript, which is edited and becomes a special report. And now you have a product. Now, as the subject matter expert, we can do all that by interviewing the content. Now, we might fill in the blanks or develop slides or put new offers in there based on an interview with the subject matter expert. But ultimately, what we're doing here is we're multiplying your value as an expert because you've already created the content. Now, you might be saying, well, I have a video from like 5 years ago and, I look different. I got a little bit extra weight on me. And, well, we can create that context by putting a lower third message on there that says, hey, this is from such and such an event. We can put a slide in there that explains how that information is still relevant. And that could be, for example, a transitional slide. So maybe your original presentation had 3 parts. We break it into the 3 logical parts, and then we put a transitional slide in there that reconnects the relevance of what you said, demonstrating that you have authority and expertise and experience in the marketplace. Remember, Google wants that EEAT, which is your experience, expertise, authority, and I forgot what T is. But basically, what we're going to do is all the hard work of getting more from the content you've already created. Now, the syndication element, which means maybe the video or one of the videos or a part of the video was on just YouTube. Now we get you out on all these other platforms, and now instead of having one channel that you're relying on, and you fear the next Google update or you fear the next YouTube slap, you now have the content in multiple places, so you start getting these trickles from multiple places. Now, what's really important here is that each channel is coded accordingly so that now we're enhancing the value of your analytics. Because what I found in my publishing is some of my environmental content tends to do very well on Rumble, but doesn't pick up very well on YouTube. Now, again, YouTube has a monetization platform that's focusing on product reviews and things like that. I don't do that kind of thing. I talk about the managing of a farm or the managing of certain permaculture concepts. Well, out on Rumble, it's a different environment. And so what you could end up with is a list on YouTube and a list on Rumble and a list on BitChute and a list on Odyssey, all different people that you could only reach on those platforms because they don't cross the platforms, and they ultimately drive back to your website where you've got a relevant opt-in offer. So that video and report that I talked about earlier could actually be a digital product that's part of a lead funnel. And so when someone comes to the website, you say, hey, you came here interested in Victory Gardens, and I just happen to have a 3-part video and workbook on Victory Gardens. And if you join our email list, I'll give it to you for free. Now, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to give free stuff out because, again, it costs money to produce and it costs money to assemble and do landing pages and things like that. But again, from a marketing perspective, we recycled existing materials. We put together a simple landing page that has adequate testing. So we're bringing in traffic from various sources. Those traffic sources have contextual value to the offer. And so now somebody watches a video that happens to be an excerpt from your 90-minute program. They want more information. They go to the landing page. You offer more information, whether you're charging for the booklet or the videos, whether it's a course designed on your platform, whether it's just the PDF download. It doesn't matter because all of the expensive part of what you've done has already been taken care of. Many times I've talked about how much of the content on the website I've already been paid to produce. And that's because I focus my effort on the technical writing that I provide to my clients and the copywriting services I provide to my clients and the contracted research I provide to my clients, and I focus on clients within my topic area of interest. So I write about permaculture and organic gardening. I write about business relationships and business strategy. I write about marketing and such. And so now I built this giant library of materials that someone paid me to produce, just like any subject matter out there expert out there creates some materials, uses it to get a paid consulting assignment, then discusses about the experiences or the problems they've solved in the next set of materials. Why not now create a residual income path by reusing, recycling, and representing on new platforms this content? I know everybody's talking about search engine optimization and the possibility of digital courses on your website and all this thing about content marketing. But what we forget is that if we can create a resource for our target customers and they can come to that resource and join, basically opt in or join, many subject matter experts may have years of content that would make a great membership site, that would make great in-house courses, that would make great course designed for actual getting paid presentations, group presentations, may create podcasts, may create videos to get a video channel going and build up an audience from video presentations. Even if you don't like how you look in that 5-year-old video, we can always overlay on that video stock images, slides. We could put you down in a little corner box, and then in the background, we have slides or examples or modern demonstrations. So we record just what we need to show the modern picture of what's going on. And now, what we end up with is evergreen content creating passive income and ultimately less work and effort on your part. Because presumably, for the consultant, for the subject matter expert, for the expert provider, the authority in the marketplace, as you progress in your career, you're going to spend more time doing actual high paid consulting work, high paid sales than you will be doing that interview video. Now, another thing that we do on the competitive research side, and this is why we do the discovery call and we build up a retainer program for each client, because it really depends on the library of content. You might need your content organized. You might need the derivative works. You might decide you want to ghostwrite a book. You might have content that's good, but we need to update it by having building an interview where we interview you and fill in the blanks from your larger bit of content. Now, I've been doing this for more than 23 years. I don't actually do the video editing. I don't do all the audio editing. I don't do all the writing. I actually have people who are social media experts. So you might have created content a long time ago. Maybe you recorded a seminar that you've done with clients. These social media experts will, based on our scripts and based on the contextual research, the keyword research and the analytics, will then excerpt the pieces we need. They'll create 5 or 6 shorts. They'll create 5 or 6 podcast episodes. And then, of course, our technical people will then schedule it up. So one of the things about this particular service that I think is very valuable is that we can deliver to you kind of a timeshare IT publishing publicist team. Um, because no one consultant can afford to have on staff a webmaster, a social media expert, a podcasting producer, a course designer, a content or an article marketer, um, it's just not going to happen. So again, there's extra value in what we're doing because I manage a team of individuals who do this for my 4 publications, but also 5 or 6 other clients. And so the hour you need on a Friday to load 5 podcasts into a series and then load all of the social media posts. So this is the job of a marketing coordinator, and then to basically give you the email, load the emails for the email autoresponder. All of that stuff happens in the 2 or 3 hours on a Friday, and then that person is not on your payroll for the rest of the month. And see, so let's say you have a weekly drip of podcasts. So you have 5 podcasts. That'd be 5 weeks of podcasts. And then you have the scheduled 5, because this is a 555 system. So the 5 social media posts that point to those podcast episodes. And we actually have a proprietary way. It's not really proprietary, but we like to think it's proprietary. But we actually have a way so that the social media posts, you can click, land on the third party site that hosts your podcast, and we actually know how many people clicked, but we also know how many people went from the description of your podcast back to your site and opted in. And so that full analytics channel, that is a $70,000-$80,000 a year position that you would have the benefit of without having to hire somebody. And so we have the 5 podcasts, each one going out each week. We have the 5 social media posts for each of the 5 podcasts, which is 25 social media posts. And then now we also have 5 email campaigns, solo emails for your autoresponder. It could be emails within your newsletter. Those are going out in a drip sequence. We now have the evergreen elements of it, which could be headline testing. It could be additional content. So maybe you just published a 90-minute interview style podcast that came from something you did years ago. You might have 5 shorts that promote that podcast, but you also might have 5 headline tests so that you can get your next batch of social out there. Because what we're doing with our social media is that we're after those 25 run, which could be spread out much further than the 5 weeks, because we want to get as much value out of the content you've already created. We might have that recycle, and somebody may go through in a couple months and delete the items that are not producing clicks or not producing conversion. So the last point I want to make in this particular service, and by the way, if you're interested in seeing if this service works for you and your clients, because again, we're going to look at the library of content, we're going to look at opportunities to recycle and reuse, and the output could be variable. So the output could be a bookstore book, the output could be a course, the output could be a series of podcasts. But if you're interested in that, you want to visit www.adbriefings.co.uk. Go to the contact page and ask your questions. Now, you can also contact us if you're looking at setting up this kind of service structure inside your own marketing agency. There's nothing really proprietary about what we're doing. I just have the benefit of having a team of people who are already trained to do these things. And then I in-house have lists of contractors that I can bring in for specialty items. And of course, if you're doing specialty items, I would love to hear about that because I like to hire within the Ad Briefings community. And so what we're ending up doing here is we're delivering a huge value to the subject matter expert, to the publisher, to the book author, to the speaker, to the person who's out there solving problems with complex services. We can take everything there is about what they've already done and use it to promote current services and to do current promotions and do it in an evergreen way so that we're now building a business of systems, systems that generate leads, close sales, and create opportunity. I know this was a lot to cover. And again, it's a very complex service that we're delivering on the back end for many of our copywriting clients, marketing clients, and in fact, other agencies that specifically helps content producers get more from the content they've already created. In fact, our focus is passive income. Now, it's not necessarily monetizing you on YouTube because, again, like I said, there's YouTube, there's BitChute, there's Odyssey, there's a lot of channels out there. It's more about creating your own media and finding places for your media to live to reach qualified prospects. Now, I specialize in selling to the affluent and business to business sales. I'd love to hear about where you're specializing. I'd like to hear if you've done this before for clients or you're looking to expand this kind of service. And finally, if you'd like us to look at a project you have, visit www.adbriefings.co.uk. I have room for a couple more clients because, again, it's part-time for you, but it's full-time staff for what we got going on here. And we really are into the weeds as far as the contextual mapping so that we don't get slapped by some Google thing, but also more importantly, that we're in as many channels as possible that are profitable. So we do have a heavy analytics drive and a heavy conversion drive. So that's not good for everybody. Some people just like having exposure, but as Dan Kennedy says, you get enough exposure, you're going to freeze dead. I want leads and sales. And so if you're not interested in measuring leads and sales in a direct response ecosystem, then good luck to you. I'm focused on return on advertising spend. I'm focused on generating a return on investment for client, increasing passive revenue, providing self-service options for clients where previously you had a service engagement trading hours for dollars. If this is appealing to you, I want to hear your questions. I want to hear even your challenges. Maybe this isn't something that works for everybody who has a large library of content. But what I know with my 23 years of content, books, special reports, articles, podcasts, I'd rather take an old popular article and turn it into a new, fresh podcast than I would writing something from scratch. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips, where we help you with the business of copywriting and help you transform your customer interactions into more profitable engagements, both for the client and for yourself, by using words that sell. I'll see you in the next podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips.